You can be objectively successful and still be strategically misaligned. The compensation is strong. The title carries weight. The performance reviews are solid. From the outside, nothing appears broken. And that is precisely why the misalignment persists. Most professionals do not stay too long because they lack alternatives. They stay because the role slowly fuses with identity. When role equals self, leaving feels like erasing part of who you are. That confusion is the real trap.
High performers are conditioned to equate stability with strength. If results are good, don't disrupt the system. If reputation is intact, don't introduce uncertainty. If trajectory is upward, don't question it. But this logic hides a structural error. Performance metrics measure competence. They do not measure alignment. A professional can be highly competent in an environment that no longer reflects who they are becoming. And when that happens gradually, it does not produce failure. It produces friction. That friction is rarely dramatic. It shows up as muted dissatisfaction, a subtle sense of stagnation, an internal voice that says, "This no longer fits," followed immediately by rationalization. "I've invested too much here. It would be irrational to step away. I'm still winning." This is where a critical distinction becomes relevant. A 5,000-year-old leadership framework made a clean separation between two domains. You control your actions. You do not control the outcomes. In modern executive language, you control execution quality. You do not control external validation. This principle is not about emotional resilience. It is about identity placement. When identity is anchored to execution standards, professionals remain internally stable. When identity is anchored to outcomes, promotions, praise, market response, they become dependent on reinforcement. Now extend that logic further. When identity becomes anchored to a specific role, position, or institutional context, professionals stop evaluating whether the role still fits. They start protecting it. That shift changes everything. Performance proves competence. It does not prove alignment. Consider Microsoft in the early 2000s. The company was not collapsing. It was profitable. It was dominant in several markets. Yet internally, the culture had hardened. Identity had fused with historical dominance. The organization defined itself by prior victories. That identity attachment produced defensiveness. Innovation slowed. Adaptation resisted. Strategic flexibility narrowed. When Satya Nadella became CEO, he did not begin with financial restructuring. He began with identity restructuring. He introduced a shift from what he described as a know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all culture. This was not a motivational slogan. It was a cognitive intervention. The company's identity moved from defending past outcomes to improving present execution. That separation between who we are and what we achieved allowed Microsoft to reorient strategically. Notice what did not happen. Microsoft did not wait for catastrophic failure. The shift occurred while the company was still powerful. That is rare. Most institutions, and most individuals, only detach identity from outcomes after visible decline. Nadella demonstrated that decoupling identity from prior success is possible even at strength. That is the leadership lesson. Attachment to past success creates resistance to necessary evolution. At the individual level, the mechanism is similar. A professional rises through an organization. Promotions accumulate. Authority expands. Compensation increases. Gradually, the role becomes shorthand for identity. I'm a senior partner. I'm a VP. I'm a founder. These labels begin as descriptions. Over time, they become self-definitions. Once that shift occurs, reevaluating the role feels destabilizing. Because the question is no longer, is this still the right professional environment? It becomes, if I leave this, who am I? That is an identity threat. And identity threats activate psychological defensiveness. 3 cognitive biases reinforce this defensiveness. Outcome bias. Success in measurable terms is treated as proof that continuation is correct. Sunk cost bias.
Years invested are treated as justification for staying. Status preservation bias. Loss of title is interpreted as loss of worth. Individually, each bias is manageable. Together, they create inertia. This is why highly intelligent professionals can remain in roles that no longer align with their evolving values, capabilities, or interests. They are not unaware, they are fused. When role becomes identity, leaving feels like personal loss, even if staying is strategically misaligned. Now consider the deeper implication of the execution versus outcome principle. If professionals anchor identity to execution quality rather than external reinforcement, they create psychological mobility. Psychological mobility is the ability to change roles without experiencing identity collapse. This is rare. Many professionals believe they are confident, but their confidence is context dependent. Remove the title and stability shakes. That reveals identity fusion. In contrast, when identity is anchored to internal standards, discipline, clarity of reasoning, integrity of action, role transitions become operational decisions rather than existential crises. This is not detachment in a passive sense. It is precision in identity placement. The ancient formulation, "You have authority over action, not over outcomes," becomes a structural leadership model. Own execution. Do not fuse self-worth with reinforcement. Evaluate roles based on alignment, not applause. Applied correctly, this prevents professionals from overstaying positions that once fit but no longer do. Why do successful professionals stay too long? Because success reduces urgency. Failure forces evaluation. Success delays it. When performance remains strong, misalignment becomes tolerable. Tolerable misalignment is dangerous. It does not destroy careers, it narrows them. Over time, the professional's growth plateaus, not because of incompetence, but because the environment no longer stretches them. Yet leaving would mean stepping away from visible success, and visible success provides psychological safety. This is the paradox. High performers often stay not out of fear of failure, but out of attachment to stability. Tolerable misalignment is dangerous. It does not destroy careers. It narrows them. Over time, the professional's growth plateaus, not because of incompetence, but because the environment no longer stretches them. Yet leaving would mean stepping away from visible success, and visible success provides psychological safety. This is the paradox. High performers often stay not out of fear of failure, but out of attachment to stability. There is a diagnostic question that cuts through this inertia. Remove compensation, status, and institutional reputation from the equation. Would this still be the arena you choose for your growth? If the honest answer is no, then the role may have outlived its alignment. That does not mean immediate resignation. It means identity separation must begin. Role is a container. Self is the operator. Containers change. Operators evolve. When the operator becomes defined by the container, evolution stalls. This is where many successful professionals quietly stagnate. They are still performing, still respected, still externally validated. But internally, growth has slowed. And because there is no crisis, no dramatic collapse, the misalignment persists. The principle of separating action from outcome offers a way out. It restores clarity. Execution remains the anchor. Identity remains internal. Roles become strategic choices, not psychological anchors. When that separation is clean, transitions become less threatening, and staying becomes intentional rather than automatic. Success should be evidence of competence, not a prison of identity. Most successful professionals do not stay too long because they are incapable of change. They stay because their identity fused with visible success. Decoupling identity from role requires cognitive discipline. But once that discipline is established, a new question becomes possible. Not, am I still succeeding? But, is this still aligned with who I am becoming? That question is not about ambition. It is about structural clarity. And structural clarity is what prevents high performers from protecting roles at the expense of growth.